Yeah, we are almost about to start the session. Rather, I would say it's good morning as well as good afternoon, whichever part of the globe you belongs to. Let me try to first say here, good morning. You. Then today you already know who am I, but as well I have to introduce myself again. My name is Dr. Professor Mahantesh Pudbagi. Today, I'll be discussing or I'll be giving, you can say, the session clarification, come synchronous way of addressing you people on unit number 3, that is feed forward neural networks from your course title point of view. And what is the course title? Let me again use the same here. This is what we're going to discuss today. So, your course title is Introduction to Deep Learning. And within that, we are about to discuss on unit number 3. Okay. Hopefully, my screen is visible to you people. I hope it is visible, right? Yeah. And by any chance, if I forgotten to mention the feedback link, you can use this. And for any of your queries related to today's session or covered session so far, on introduction to deep learning, please compose a mail and drop to this email ID and expecting your way of clarification along, of course, with your proper introduction in the mail so that I can address you properly. Fine. Okay, moving actually the what you call as for today's discussion, let us first verify the key components or subunits of today's unit, that is feed forward neural networks. Through this unit number 3, we will be knowing the pattern classification using the artificial neuron called perceptron. What is the meaning with respect to multi-layer feed forward? And what is the meaning with respect to neural networks of the same multi-layer feed forward? Once those are clear, then you can consider we'll be talking about backpropagation learning as well as empirical risk minimization, regularization, along with the point called encoders. Okay. I think I'm joined by one learner, Varun Tyagi. Am I audible, Varun? Hello. Please give me some response if you are able to listen to my voice. Yes. Okay. Before actually talking about the highlighted text on your screen, I would like to know from your side, you've been there in the previous session? Did you attend the previous session, Varun? No problem. Did you went through already recorded session in your ERP? I think it's already posted the covered sessions in your ERP specific login. Okay. If you have not went through suggestions to you, please go through those covered uh, sessions through what the recording so that what I'll be discussing today may be clear to you if you are from actually AML background. However, so far, what I did for the last 2 sessions, today is my third session to you people. Do I have any more learners who joined the session? Let me check here, wait for a while. Yeah, I have one more learner. Uh, can you rename yourself, Mr. or Miss Zoom user? Please rename yourself because for me, you are registered learner and I need to have your proper details while attending the session. Zoom learner. May I know who is Zoom learner here? Please rename yourself because I don't know your details. I hope my details are visible to you. Yes or no? Please give me some response. Rename yourself. So before actually getting into the discussion on the unit number 3, that is feed for neural networks, I would like to know from your side, you have any clarification or queries? If no questions, clarification, I'll be happy. If you are having, I'll be more happy. Okay. So no more. If no questions, no problem. I have to disable my screen. Reason being, it is occupying some part of my screen because I require all part of screen need to be properly visible to me. Consider the fact that it is also going to visible in the same way. Okay. So in that way, I'm supposed to disable my screen. Fine. So if I take a say around 3 to 5 minutes of quick revision in this context, because I'm finding every now and then learners are attending and missing. Otherwise, I'm finding new learners in my every session here. Never mind. So this is what we are trying to cover in the first unit with respect to introduction to deep learning. Within that, these are the sub points or sub units of the unit number 1. In that, we try to know what is the meaning with respect to deep learning and what was the comparison with respect to clarification about deep learning. Of course, with the help of biological motivation and applications of deep learning, some suitable situations or sometimes opportunities or problems for learning deep learning, and how best that can be applied with respect to real-time artificial way called neural network, otherwise an entity called activation function. Diagrammatic representation of deep learning, then the meaning of deep learning, some of the key components with respect to neurons. We try to source different examples and what is the meaning of neuron and what the best way of handling neuron through artificial way called artificial neuron. Then biological material, what do you call motivation called synapse, how the synapse can be applied. Then the structure of biological networks, how that is applied through layered structure in artificial neural networks. Apart from that, applications, there are so many different applications. Almost every part of ours is about to get occupied by the so-called what artificial or you can say deep learning. However, here few major applications are shown in the slide, starting with vision or computer vision or natural language processing or speech recognition, sometimes recommended systems along with the robotics implementation. Then the same extension is continued here with respect to suitable opportunities or a problem, or sometimes you can consider as a research part. Okay, how research part means existing environment can be improved in a better possible way. In that situation, that is a part or that is the exploration related to type of a research. So this was what we covered with respect to unit number 1. Then in under unit number 2, as I was saying, it's a quick revision. With respect to unit number 2, wait for a while, I have to stop the screen. Meantime, if you have queries, you can raise. I'll attend once I complete my conversation with you. Okay. So next unit number is unit number 2. With respect to that, we saw, I hope it is visible. I mean, my screen is visible. So according to unit number 2, rather 2, neural networks, it says about single layer neural network. Then there are some situations or there are some platforms called gradient descent or gradient descent extension, which seems to be little bit technical terms from deep learning point of view. Otherwise, if I compare these things, you already knows what you mean by gradient descent or sometime descent extension or how to regularize that. Okay, I'll try to connect these. No need to worry again. Then multi-layer perceptron, what do you mean by back propagation, how the things related to chain rule can be applied. Based on these clarification, the meaning with respect to deep learning model is the subunit of your unit number 2, which is the last part. Otherwise, neural networks, if you observe here, you can go to this website for your the much extension or much clarification on the same. Okay. I'll post the same website here for your reference. Then moving back to the actual screen, where it is, yes. Wait for a while. Then what actually neural network? It's another way of checking how actually the processing of our thought process really taken place. So in that context, it is used. The link is also the same for your reference. Next, what do you call? There is a comparison between artificial neurons rather along with the biological neurons or neurons. However you feel comfortable, you can pronounce. We try to see this comparison in the previous session. When you talk about biological neuron, it contains 4 entities starting with dendrite. Then there is a situation called thought process, especially called cell nucleus or sometimes soma. Then the synapse and axon. Comparing the same with artificial neurons, we are using the term called inputs, nodes, weights, and outcome. So if you observe here, one example for back propagation, is it visible? Yes. Is my screen visible? Hello? Please give me some response if my screen is visible, because I have to show you different examples related to image. And through that image, I try to, you can say, explore. Okay. Is my screen visible? I think this particular image was not discussed in the previous part. Yes. So if you observe here, the left part of the screen says about human neuron, and the right part just compares how the artificial neuron can support as that of human neuron or human supportive thought process. If you go back to the earlier part of my presentation, where it was, yeah, here it is. Is my screen visible? Yes. Okay. So here I'm comparing biological neuron with artificial neuron. In that way, dendrite, nucleus, synapse, and axon. Like that, likewise, artificial neuron supports inputs, nodes, weights, and outcomes or outputs. So if you observe that through this image, now, I won't say this may be the final representation of any of our human cells called neurons. But somewhere it is tried to be predicted like it can be represented like this. So if you observe both the images according to yourself from your understanding level, can you put any of your remark how actually your thought process is going on? And can I have anyone's statement from your side? Please. Or else I would like to know whether both images meaning is clear to you. Give me some response. Reason being, how you are able to think from each individual understanding is very much debatable with the next one or with the next person. Follow what I'm saying? If I compare that particular example in real-time situation, something like this. Right now in my session, I have 5+1 learner because I also consider myself as a learner. But when I'm discussing, I may be part of the professor, but parallelly I'm also learning so many different things, right? So in that way, 5 plus 1. Whatever I'm about to express or whatever I'm about to utter is my way of approach related to those terms. How you are able to understand those, that is your way of handling the situation. Am I correct what I'm saying? Somewhere this 5 plus 1 learner are in a position to match the sound waves or the meaning of the sound here. Able to understand what I'm saying? For example, if I say one particular word, something like this, just observe in your chat option, I'm just typed a combination of alphabets called capital A with small a. Similarly, I'm going to type one more combination of letters here. Can you pronounce this and tell me what is the meaning you are able to understand by pronouncing this? No meaning? Okay. I got one response, very much appreciable. What about my other learners, excluding me right now? So what I want to say here, when I got or when I'm getting a response, it means based on the input of these combination of two different words or a letter combination, somewhere in your thought process, neuron starts working. Based on that working, you already have certain built-in data set. That built-in data set may be what? Based on your pronunciation or based on your understanding of the letters and its supportive pronunciation. Able to follow what I'm saying? Yes or no? Yes. So, how many data sets you collected so far? It's very, very much debatable one, or very much difficult to express in any types of digit format. But when you talk about deep learning, into brackets say machine learning, we're expecting the machines to understand these type of approaches too, apart from the regular meaning of any of the words. If I say just a letter called A or just I type A and A, what is the difference? We have been taught as per alphabets called capital A is the term used for or symbol used for representation of any of the first letter according to English language. Small letter A can be represented like this. And believe it or not, you did not understood just by like that only. You practiced so many days. If you recall your first day of what? Schooling. Am I correct what I'm saying? And you go on depositing different approaches for different letter images. Those approaches are the part of here, what? Data set. Are you able to follow what I'm saying? So if you observe the left part of the screen, it's a working structure of human neuron according to some what we can say the contribution made by different research people. Maybe it looks like this. Maybe it looks like this. I have to take one more image for your reference here. Wait for a while. Meantime, if you have any queries, you can raise the query in the chat option. Please. Where it is. Is my screen visible? Can I have some response? Okay, very nice. So according to your observation, can you tell me, just by observing, nothing personal, can you tell me what actually it represents? Just by looking at this particular image, what actually you feel like it is representing? Can you give me some response in words? Okay, I got one response. Hmm. Is it the same for remaining learners too? Okay. Any alternative response? Hmm. Please give me some input. So I put one image for, for your reference through sharing the screen. I found three different responses. May I know what is the reason? Of course, image remains same. Responses are different. May I know what is the reason? Hmm. No reason. I won't say like that. I say based on your clarification, whatever you stored in your brain with reference to that image or representation of image, okay, or based on the particular already stored information, with that you are able to give some response. Correct? Of course, whatever response you are give, you have mentioned in the chat option, all are considered. There's nothing like only one need to be considered, the other one no, no, not like that. Okay. So according to that, I'll again need to share the screen. Wait. Now this is the previous image wherein we are comparing, as per your course title, we are comparing what? How actually neuron need to be, or rather neuron function need to be taken care in an artificial way called, this is called perceptron with respect to machine learning. And this is called neuron from human brain point of view. Okay. So now if you observe the next image, just see here. You feel like, or rather you are able to found it like what? There is a type of reflection as well as refraction going through certain platform or so going through certain ways. WAYS, not WAVES. Able to follow what I'm saying? Hello? Hopefully. Now, if I consider one more image here. So according to this particular image, can you tell me what is the observation or what is the meaning you are able to understand? If you are really, explored some of the content related to deep learning from your understanding level. Why I'm saying every time understanding level stands for each individual, the learner is having different approach of understanding capacity. In that context, nothing personal that I'm making any comparison. Please avoid that. I'm not at all making any comparison with any other one, including myself. I hate to compare. And if I really want to compare, I can compare with my previous activities related to how actually I'm handling the job and how am I able to reframe, fine tune, and go for making it better. In that way, I can compare with only self. I'm not supposed to compare with myself with any of the unknown entities, including my learners or any of the other situations sometime. Hopefully, I'm clear. Yeah. So, with respect to this image, can you tell me what is the meaning you are able to understand? This is how we are expecting our machines to learn. And of course, going to compare every the image with respect to our real-time situation. No need to worry. But just I wanted to know, just by observing image, what will be your input? Now, can you tell me what is the meaning you are able to understand with this particular image? Please. No meaning? Otherwise, one more. If you observe previous and observe this, do you find any meaning? Next one. Do you find any meaning? Do you find any meaning? Now, I have to shift to my presentation. Meantime, I'll put pause for say 15-20 seconds. If you have any queries related to image, you can post in the chat option. Applicable to all the learners, I'm saying with respect to images, you feel like you want to say something, you can post your words or statements in the chat option. Please. Only two input I got in the chat option as of now. And I think I have how many? Yeah, near about 7 learners. So going back to, so actually I was referring to unit number 2 in a quick revision. In that context, I was using that image. Yeah. Is my screen visible? Okay, just you observe comparison and please remember that image as well. Okay. I'll come back to all the inputs, what I found in my chat option. But before that, I have to complete my revision. Okay. Now, if I consider this situation from your, say, observation after having the understanding of trust, I want to know from your level of meaning with respect to word called trust. Can you define trust? Can you define trust? Of course, it is an intangible entity and it's applicable on our daily life in every part or every instance. Talking about relationships, talking about thought process, talking about exchange of information, talking about handling the situation, talking about any type of input, talking about any type of outcome, everywhere you are expecting this word. So, according to your understanding, can you give me one definition of trust related to this particular session? Any response? Sounds very much easy, but very difficult to express, right? Yes or no? I feel it very much difficult to express when you talk about trust. Okay. Right now I'm expecting a response as per the deep learning point of view. Now, if you don't mind, may I know your, you can say, uh, existing experience wherever people are working? May I know what is the experience you have? If you talk about me, I completed 20 years and just entered 21st year into my teaching experience. Very good experience. Now, if you consider this particular experience with respect to a specific field, if I talk about me, it's teaching experience or academics. Like that, you do have different experience in your existing job. Okay. Next, suddenly, the so-called different organizations in the name of authorization says your experience will not be counted. You have to start from the scratch related to the same job. What will your response? I repeat, whatever experience you have, that will not be counted. We're going to count starting from today as your first day of experience, but the field remains same. In that condition, how you will going to tackle yourself? For me, if you ask, I consider probably it is a new rule applied by the authorized body called UGC AICT, so it's okay. I can handle. Are you able to understand what I'm saying? But probably the word called trust will get trembling in me because even after spending say 20 plus years into academics, the rules have been now modified or changed. With that, the trust, whatever I built up by spending this much time, will be getting shaken, which is not really correct. Yes or no? But as for deep learning concern, the term, if you are able to see my screen, you are able to find one term called back propagation. Is it visible? Yes or no? So I have to show you that image here now. Wait for a while. Yes. Is my image screen is visible to you? So the meaning of back propagation here is, of course, I have taken very much large experience. I thought of sharing my approach related to the experience what I accumulated so far. How this experience really got deposited? Starting from first day of my teaching, I spent a week, a month, a year, more than 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, worked with the same institute and got development of certain trust related to the teaching methodology or academics handling. Likewise, I shifted from the first institute to other institute. There I got different experience, a different approach. Again, I got accumulated, flexible for changing, because not I'm supposed to, wherever we are working, the institutes are expecting us to be flexible. Are you following what I'm saying? Now, when I'm using the term called back propagation, it is something like this. Once you really observed and about to apply your thought process into real time, after implementation, is it possible to change the thought process on the same? Are you able to follow? I'll try to connect that example something like this. Imagine for specific day, for day to day, you can say from Monday to Friday, you people are imagining or you people are planning something. With the same frame of mind, you are reporting to your job. After reaching the venue or after reaching your destination or after reaching your office, you came to know that today there is no work, it's been declared as a holiday. How your response will be? Can I have some response or reply? Okay, I got a response from Ganesh saying that happy. Okay. Meantime, other learners, please be interactive or give me some response. Yeah. What will be your response? Same as that of Ganesh? Hmm. So there comes the understanding of back propagation. What I want to say here, now listen carefully. You already planned and you are expecting some job to be done. However, environment not really supported to accomplish your planning as per the expected accomplishment of work. But company says it's been declared as a holiday. You people are feeling happy. I really consider that. But how about your plan? What is to be done is not really taken care. Who is going to take that responsibility later? Do you understand? So from 20 years, I came to 1 day now. That 1 day, I'm going to reduce it to 1 hour now. Maybe people are feeling happy because you may consider that job may be a bit hectic or very much pressure, right? Otherwise, maybe your job is not enjoying by yourself, your job is enjoying you. Please correct me if I say anything wrong statement. Mean to say, if you apply same strategy for my approach in 1 hour of my say online session, I'm putting pressure for on myself at least 3 to 4 hours in the best possible way. I can support along with supporting example with that my learners can understand easily. So when I'm expecting my learners can understand easily, it means somewhere I'm putting pressure to make myself also better with real-time situations as an example. When I consider real-time examples, probably my learners are in a position to understand the concept in a better way. Rather than that, if I just show you, I'll go back to the slides, just observe here. Yeah, just I show you this slide content. This is the comparison between artificial neurons and biological neurons. From your understanding, you please check out your way of handling your thought process. Compare the same with the machines. That's it. If you compare whatever best possible way you are able to come with certain outcome is the comparison between artificial neurons and biological neurons. This is what I am going to say as per the slide content. Now, based on this clarification, how much you are able to follow up my statements? Can I have some response? Just by using the same technical terms, what had been used in the slide, and the same will be used in the discussion too, how much you are able to cope up or how much you are able to understand? I hope you are following. Easy to follow or very, very easy to follow? Moderately bit difficult, very much difficult, or totally bouncing, or unable to understand if I use these terms for my discussion? apart from not connecting those things into real-time situations. Easy to follow? Hopefully not. So if you compare here, this way of, you can say artificial neurons and biological neurons comparison, being a human being, you can easily change your thought process. Okay. Once you thought, you can apply. Then before application, you feel like, no, I have to change. You can change it easily. That approach is called back propagation from human brain point of view. But how about the machines? It requires very much different approach to make the systems to understand. In that way, this image justifies here. Is my screen visible? Are you following what I'm saying? So, from human brain point of view, after spending what from observation, say for example, from 3 months age old baby to till 5 to 6 year age of a body or that baby, so many data sets are deposited in the name of observation, collection. Whether you really like it or not, without that, you are able to deposit or get deposited or gather. Even it includes me too. Okay. But during that situation, if any of the data sets are wrongly posted or deposited without proper clarification, so you're going to face so many different psychological issues. Not I'm saying according to so-called what? The human behavior. So wherein it's very, very difficult to change those unless and until you really know how to handle your thought process by yourself as much as possible. So this approach here represented as back propagation on machine level of understanding. Am I clear what I'm saying? Hopefully, if you have any questions, you can raise the same in the chat option. So like that, there is an entity called synaptic. Okay, that synaptic is nothing but I try to show you through that image here. Where it was, yeah. How your thought process of back propagation can be represented diagrammatically. And it has been taken by one of the research institute called shutterstock.com. You can visit the website and try to verify for your reference. Okay. Then moving to the next continuation point. Yes. Meantime, if you have any questions, please raise the same in the chat option. So when you talk about the artificial neural network, it supports single layer, multi-layer, okay, as well as some of the architecture related to artificial neural networks called perceptron, feed forward, convolutional, radial, means how human beings are able to think. Like that, we had tried to apply through machine that same type of approach, but only difference is human beings are able to feel exhausted, difficult to cope up, machines may not. I hope my screen is visible. If you observe here, one image may be visible to you. Is my screen visible? Hello? Now, anytime from your observation, please recall and tell me, did you ever try to throw a stone in the lake? Anybody tried? I tried. Same way, I think you might have also tried. If you tried, After throwing a stone will going to touch the surface of the lake, and because of its heavy mass, the stone can get into the water level bottom. But it used to create waves. Yes or no? Hello? Now, I would like to ask here why it is creating waves. Can you tell me? What is the reason? After throwing a stone in the lake, water or the layer used to create some waves. What is the reason? From science point of view or from your observation point of view? Please tell me. Hmm? Only because of surface tension of water? Whenever any hard material or weight used to hit surface, it has to adjust with that surface, right? At that weight. Yes or no? So, however, to balance both the sides, we are seeing that waves are getting created as per our senses observation concern. But in real time, is it really happening? Quite a debatable one. If you really observe your data sets, I'll suggest you whenever you have some free time, check out this exercise for your understanding level. Is what am I uttering is really satisfies or not? Because there is a contradiction statement. The water layer need to adjust that particular weight, and that weight is really creating what? Some part of weightage to the water to make the waves. And being human beings, our senses are working as per our expectation. Okay. So we feel like there is a creation of waves. Likewise, whenever you are thinking on any of the thought, even that can also create type of a waves. That waves is called here batch gradient from artificial neural network point of view called perceptron. Able to understand? Hope so. So if I get back to that same, there is one more entity called stochastic gradient descent. Now you throw one stone or more than one stone. What will going to happen? Depending upon the speed plus weight, and when it touches the surface, the water will going to react. Right? So in that way, the stochastic gradient can be considered here. Is my image through the screen visible? Hello? So when you throw, say, more than one stone, there will be clashes between the created waves, even though they touch the surface one after the other. Follow what I'm saying? There is one more term called mini batch gradient descent. For this, you please refer this what website for further clarification. Otherwise, you can even apply this type of approach through visualization techniques supported by whom? Say Python. Many of the learners did, you can say, programming concepts through their the projects. So I suggest them you please also verify these particular iterations or way of approach related to mini batch gradient descent. In simple word, what you call gradient descent stands for how the thought process is getting activated when there is a still of the process related to thought process. Then comparison on the same, and you have so many similar concepts about gradient descent. So if you recall my first session related to this deep learning, I think I disclosed we have how many thoughts in a particular day. We are able to process or we are able to think at least 64,000 different thoughts in how many seconds? These many seconds. So how much time you're spending for one thought process, you check again from your understanding level. Based on that, you are able to either gradient descent or stochastic gradient descent, or sometime what? The multi-layer, the situation of handling the gradient descent. There is a rule called chain rule as per unit number 2. Anybody knows what is a chain rule? The same is applicable for handling here gradient descent on machine or through machines. Otherwise, you are differentiating first with one function, later you're going to differentiate the same function with the next main function as per chain rule concern. If you want me to connect this, something like this. Say, for example, you are traveling from source A to destination B. Meantime, you have to pass through some sub-locations called C, D, E. Without that, you cannot reach destination B. So there probably A to C, then C to D, then D to B may be divided as a part of chain rule to reach from source A to destination B. So like that, approach can be applied for what? Gradient descent sometime. So is my screen is visible? So according to machines, input layers, you have here 4 different input layers which are passing through different hidden layers. Now what do you mean by hidden layers here? It is similar to this image, what I wanted to show you. Otherwise, right now what I'm talking, you are able to understand. How you are able to understand is the part of hidden layer here. Are you able to follow what I'm saying? Hello? Give me some response. Then moving to the actual discussion for today's unit, supposed to be feed-forward neural network. Whatever we discussed so far, starting with artificial neuron, perceptron, comparison, gradient descent, feed, then how actually you are able to thought process, what is trust, all these are nothing but one way of handling the neural networks or neurons from our human brain point of view. Now, is it possible to change that according to neural network? Of course it is. Here we have an example. Is my screen is visible? If not, wait for a while. I have to check out that. Is my screen visible? But check out here. Now, for your understanding level, consider this input layer X1 to Xn as your different thoughts. Say, for example, within that, say 10 minutes of next time. I mean to say, for the next 10 minutes, whatever thoughts are coming in your mind, you consider them starting with X1 to X10. Because I consider probably one thought may require 1 minute of time. Even that can be reduced or that can be increased depending upon your way of what? Deposited data sets in the name of thought process. Is my statement clear? Yes or no? Now, based on those thoughts, you are expecting certain outcomes. Yes? Can I have some response? So those thoughts output can be considered as per the diagrammatic representation like Z1 to Zm. Okay. And overall, the time period for 10 minutes is part of your hidden layer here as per your thought process. Able to follow what I'm saying? Mean to say, overall, to consider everything in simple way, the way how you are able to process your thought process is the hidden layer which is not known to you, but still you are able to give some outcome as thought actually applied in real time is the output layer of your thought process. Fair enough? Now, what I found here, one clarification related to thought process that we are not in a position to define diagrammatically about that thought process, which is hidden layer. Okay, but same case is not true for machines. We have to define. That definition is nothing but here. For particular thought called X1, you have hidden layer called W11. Likewise, for X2, you may have W21 or W22. Means even thought process need to be properly referred, indexed, location need to be known. After what we are doing, we are using here logical memory for machines to understand human way of approach called neurons implementation. Able to follow what I'm saying? Hope so. So moving back to the actual, yeah. So if you observe here, that is actually said to be what recurrent neural networks. Otherwise, there is a comparison feed forward and recurrent. I suggest please you refer from your side. Like that, there is a pattern. Pattern means how the exchange of information is really taking place. Perceptron. Do I have image here? Yes. Is my screen visible? Single and multi-layer perceptron image is visible. Yeah. It is something like this. Again, you consider the same example. For 10 minutes, I said, now almost I exhausted with 5 minutes. I'm left with only 5 minutes. In the next 5 minutes, how many thoughts you are able to really think on a particular instance of time? Sounds very much strange example, but I don't have any alternative example. Okay. How you are able to think? Can you able to catch that thinking? If you say yes, please give me some response. If you say no, please give me some response. Answer, of course, lies with both the term yes and no. You are not able to see my screen. On the screen, I shown a single and multi-layer artificial neuron called perceptron. What? Handling situations. Is it visible or not? Are you able to see the image, Ganesh? Okay. If you observe here, the left part of the screen justifies about one thought or one single layer perceptron handling capacity in the name of starting with passing the input and expecting the expected outcome. Right part of the screen, just beside that, you are able to find B. And weights are what? Those are hidden layers. As per our understanding level, right now I'm uttering, it is reaching to your mind, right? Through, of course, the media like speakers, bandwidth, and your mind is open for discussion. So all these are not visible, but they are proactive for the session. Yes or no? In that way, those are the parts of perceptron called weights. WIGST, what is mentioned here, which is of course hidden. So likewise, if you explore these parts, you will be having very much interest or very deeper side of interest related to your thought process. And if that is clear, you may be one among the best contributor for machine learning after understanding the way of approach. Then there is multi-layer. Of course, one single layer is clear, multi-layer can be handled easily. Then back propagation. And somewhere I ask you, rather I suggest you, please revise your, what you call, little bit mathematical part if you are from science background, especially the way of handling the calculation and integration. Some parts of the same can be or rather had been used into this. Then there is one image called autoencoders. Is my screen visible? Is my screen visible? Again, it's similar to that single layer. What? Hmm. Single layer perceptron and multi-layer perceptron. Overall, the meaning of this particular unit justifies about what? How you are able to understand the feed-forward neural networks, provided the neural network architecture is really clear. Okay. If I really want me to, if you really want me to connect those with our day-to-day approach, whatever data sets we collected so far in the name of thoughts, how we will going to use for our convenience for day-to-day activities as for our best possible way without hurting anyone. Able to understand? Hope so. Meantime, with that, I'm almost covered with the unit number 3. If you have any other questions, queries, you are free to raise. Already, I think I posted for today's session the supportive entities. Okay. And meantime, please accomplish your project to work, not because I am saying, because it is the work to be accomplished as per your assigned deadlines, which is not part of my today's session otherwise. Fine. I shared the link for today's discussion. I'll stop here. Thanks for attending my session. If you have any questions, queries, please drop a mail to my email ID. Fine.